a very bright young man, and somewhere it got in his head that he wanted to do the right thing. He had big dreams. He wanted to do things.
What we got out of Jeremiah was special here. You know, his efforts, his attitude, his work ethic.
I will be honest with you, it doesn't surprise me at all. We knew from the moment we met him that this kid was very determined.
He's a great example to don't make excuses for failure. I'm very, very pleased to see that someone like that with his background has become the person he is.
At first glance, linebacker Jeremiah YT1080 of Richland, Texas, appears to have everything going for him. Good looks, highly successful on the football field, and loved and respected by his peers.
On the football field, he's everywhere, every inch of the field, back and forth, up and down, he's everywhere. I swear he was in on every tackle pretty much.
Yeah, we like in the running backs, you know what I mean?
He had broke his hand and he had a cast that he had to play with, and you know, just as strong as he is, his one arm is probably about as strong as most people were with two.
He was considered one of the top linebackers in the state of Texas and verbally committed to Oklahoma State University.
Well, he was an aggressive player. He really ran well side to side, and he was a great team player. It made us really attracted to him based on what he brought to our program, not only as a player, but as a person.
I was so excited that I was nervous. The majority of our time is based on this moment, coming out that tunnel. I knew that OSU was a place for me when I visited. I think I had maybe like 18, almost 20 offers at the time, 21. I just wanted to have a place I could call home, but it was just me just figuring out what school's gonna actually take care of me if things don't work out, if I have a major injury, if something happens. My name is Jeremiah YT1080. I'm a student at Oklahoma State University, former student athlete. I am from Northwestern Hills, Texas. I was born in the Congo, in Kinshasa. At the time, our country was called Zaire. I didn't know English then. All I knew was French, Lingala, and Swahili.
As far as Africa, I think we lived better in Africa ever than we have here in America. We had a very, very nice home. We had family, we had support. It was very kosher.
Hoping to provide better education for his children, Jeremiah's father came to the U.S., and the family would soon follow, setting up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Jeremiah's mother would soon give birth to two baby girls, Embo and Belanda. With a growing family in a new home, this was an exciting time for the YT1080 family. However, there was one change that no one saw coming.
Following then, after my sister was born, about, I'd say a year later, a lot had changed dramatically in my life. My father became a whole different person. We endured domestic violence on a daily basis, on a nightly basis. And my little sisters, they were kids then, they were babies. And we were kids also, but we, through that whole entire experience, we had to really grow up as fast as possible. And I remember going to school, a bunch of bruises here and there, and my brother too, and we were wishing somebody would say something.
One day, I don't know who told me or how I knew, but I knew that they were pretty strapped for cash. And I went by the Albertsons and picked up groceries and took them that evening to the family. And I just bought, I knew that there were 4 children and an adult, so I bought. And then right after that, they kind of disappeared.
Damaged by the father's abuse, the family ran away to a secure women's shelter in Arlington, Texas. With the father not knowing where they were, and with them only being allowed to stay at the shelter for a limited time, Jeremiah's mother issued a restraining order against his dad. The abuse was bad, but what came next scarred the family for life.
So before my dad left, he knew that My mom would always look at the picture album that we had, and she would collect photos. And before he left, actually, he like literally burned all her pictures and her clothes. And he burned all our documents. I would say 90%, 95% of the things we literally lost. Not having some certain documents that we needed, like our birth certificate, you know, all we had was a copy, you know. Not having, you know, our social security cards, all we had was a copy.
With the dad out of the picture, Jeremiah's mother moved the kids into an apartment. But with a low-income job and 4 kids to look after, she struggled to provide the resources needed to survive.
They didn't have a lot, just to say the least. They had furniture. They didn't have a lot, and it wasn't the best. They didn't have dishes, they didn't have pots and pans, they didn't have glasses. I took all those over there to them. And I think after that, they were living in our car.
We lived in a Corolla, a Toyota Corolla, for a certain amount of years. Periodically, I remember we spent 2 summers in the car. This is where we'd sleep the majority of the time. And at night, you know, there'd be a bunch of people walking in the parking lot. One of us used to have to at least stay up so we can keep watch. But then some nights they actually let us stay in Salvation Army, and we used to actually sit on those steps right there all the time. As you see here, there's a family. There's probably some people here that are homeless also that are just trying to survive. They're right here. Looks like they live in their car also. The layout of who would sleep what and where. Me and my brother would argue who gets the front. It really didn't matter, I mean, but we just did whatever we could. I mean, we didn't, I mean, that's just something like nobody wants to talk about, honestly. That's just, I don't know, man, like, I don't want to talk about that anymore, dude. I don't want to talk about that, bro. I don't want to talk about that. Let's get out of here.
This is not the life that his mother expected to have when she came to the U.S. And it is not the life that him or his brothers and sisters expected to have either. I mean, they were thrown into something that nobody could have anticipated.
They're great kids, and they didn't deserve this. They did not. I wish it didn't happen to them. And I wish I could have done more, but you do what you can, you know.
When my dad left, my mom left. Physically, she was there, but she wasn't there. She was there for a short time, you know, a couple years after, you know, she was just trying to get by. But then when we went homeless, mentally, she wasn't checked in right. She wasn't there. She really, for years, was strong. But then when we went homeless, she broke down. Eventually, she just stopped praying, you know, and she prayed every night. That's when I knew something was wrong with her. They just cared about us at the time as kids, and I think she really needed some help also in a support system.
Miss Sherry used to take us, and whoever else lived in the church just pick us up.
It has been 2 months since Jeremiah last saw his mom. For the past 6 months, she has been living at an undisclosed government-owned women's shelter. They talk when they can, but today's visit comes as a surprise.
What can you tell us about him and your relationship with him?
Wow, my baby, my baby son. The second only one I have of my life. He's great, great, good son, good baby, good child.
We're going to get your mom a toothbrush right now and toothpaste.
Yeah, she's doesn't really have anything right now, so we get her to
As a kid, Jeremiah knew the streets of downtown Fort Worth like the back of his hand. His family would take shelter in the library by day and return to sleep in the car by nightfall.
My mother had fell from depression. It really hit her hard that year, as far as like being overwhelmed that she had to work and do everything, and it made her function differently. It just took a toll on her body. It took a toll on her mentally, emotionally. So she wasn't really functioning well. And that's when I think CPS got introduced.
After several summers of living in the car and in and out of shelters, Child Protection Services got involved and put the kids into foster care. Unfortunately, Jeremiah's first foster family was abusive, which led to him being relocated to South Dallas. He was put with the Brudens, a happy husband and wife who finally brought stability to Jeremiah's life.
Well, we really didn't know what we was getting into. We knew that his mom was sick and she couldn't afford to take care of them and then I think they had lost their home. They didn't have anywhere to stay. And we went and picked them up and brought them home, and they just seemed like our kids. Mm-hmm.
He was a prom king. He used to love to wear the little prom deal around his neck. He wore that day and night. He was so proud. They had track meet at night, and we went to see him. And he was determined. He didn't come in first or second, but he was determined to run track. That was his motivation in football, too.
As Jeremiah finished middle school, his mother had worked up enough money to bring the kids back together. With the government's help, she was able to own a trailer in North Richland Hills. While the conditions weren't great, the family was together under one roof. As Jeremiah started high school, he quickly realized he had a natural gift.
I'm Jeremiah Chimunga from Richland High School, junior. All-state linebacker, future All-American, number 33, coming soon. Top 12. Coming down, it's all fun and games, but you'll feel the pain at the night. Next year, senior year, All-American coming soon again. Let's go.
I remember I had long hair at the time. I wasn't really accepted right off the bat. I'll tell you that. So then, freshman year went by. We went 9-1, we're district champs. And then the next year I played varsity. I got All-State. I got Defensive Sophomore of the Year.
First time I saw Jeremiah, I was like, who is this? Because he didn't even look like, I don't know, dude came in 15 looking like a grown man, really.
Everybody's lifting and doing their thing, but all these kids would turn and they would kind of check Jeremiah out and see how much he's lifting, especially if he took that shirt off and he was so ripped that, he just drew a lot of attention like that.
Living about 6 miles away from the high school, Jeremiah would walk to and from football practice every day. One teammate thought he could help out by offering something as simple as a ride. Soon enough, a lifetime friendship blossomed.
First time I met Jeremiah, he was I seen him in the locker room. I was the biggest player on the team at the time, and he's bigger than me. I was like, whoa, who's this kid? So we started giving him a ride in the mornings, and started helping him out that way.
He came to our house for a weekend, and I think that first time it was his birthday, and Michael told me it was his birthday, so I had to run out and get him a cake and presents. And then he came over another weekend, and he was in news that he was gonna have to live in a shelter, and he didn't want to go. I think he got quite attached to us.
With Jeremiah in a comfortable setting, Tish arrived at Michael's house one night with plans to bring him back to the trailer park. A physical altercation ensued.
And that's when the brother came, big brother came.
Big brother.
Knocking on the door. You need to come with me. And it's like, no, I don't want to go. And
I asked him a few times, like, hey, come back. Like, I kept telling him, and he didn't want to. I think he was, I guess, tired of the instability. It wasn't bad enough to where, like, you know, I have to, like, get him back. Like, you know, I tried. He's at a good place.
After convincing his mother he was in the right situation, Jeremiah was allowed to stay with Michael's family. Tish never returned.
From then on, he was part of the family. It wasn't strange at all. He's comfortable. Like, even to this day, you know, I think he feels like this is his home base.
This is what I dealt with on a weekly basis right here. Come home, you know, people usually have their homework to do in high school. I come home, have a whole box of letters to open. Texas Tech, bunch of OSU, University of Colorado, LSU, UCLA, Michigan, Arizona, Baylor.
Jeremiah was riding high, letter after letter, offer after offer, scout after scout sitting in his classes and attending his practices.
Nebraska, University, University of Michigan football. Looks like a written letter. You have a great opportunity here. Can you say you're a 4-year starter?
Feel looking at that, knowing that you never opened it?
Well, it's like I said, I had so many opportunities, you know. This is a blessing, you know, but this was too much of a blessing in a way. There's so many letters that it was overwhelming, and I was so thankful, so blessed. I remember after like my first couple letters, I would cry, go to the bathroom, start crying, and nobody ever knew about that.
It was an overwhelming decision, but Jeremiah quickly made Stillwater, Oklahoma, his new home.
I graduated high school early. I was here that December. I went through spring training, and I was putting on weight fast. I introduced a training table. Training table is where we eat while all the student athletes eat. I think that the fact that I put on that weight even made it harder for me to even run more. I passed out at practice.
Jeremiah had never had a major injury, other than a few minor incidents with asthma while playing high school football. Unfortunately, his asthma led to bigger problems, as Jeremiah ended up passing out multiple times during practice. For the first time, Jeremiah's football future was in doubt.
I didn't really want to play football after that. It's not fun waking up in a hospital bed and not knowing what's going on.
Well, he had some issues with conditioning, some genetic traits that sometimes we have players that aren't able to handle the conditioning, and it doesn't have anything to do with the toughness of that player. It's just the genetic makeup of their body, and sometimes that's not exposed until they get to our level.
In addition to asthma, Jeremiah was diagnosed with sickle cell trait, an inherited disease that stacks up disfigured red cells causing a blockage in the blood vessels. That blockage can cause organs to be deprived of oxygen, leading to aches and pains in the body.
And next thing you know, Coach Gundy tells me to come to his office, and he's worried about my health, and you know, he says, that's the second time, Jeremiah.
Well, when he came to me and we started talking, I mentioned to him that if it was my son, that I would recommend he did not play college football, because there's so much more to life, and he's come so far. He's going to graduate from college. He's going to go out there in the real world and be successful. And whether we like to buy into it or not, at some point, college football is not for everybody, and his genetic makeup didn't put him in a position to have success at this level.
As a parent of his own, Gundy advised Jeremiah to take the medical leave, essentially ending his football career after only playing one game. From that point on, Jeremiah was no longer a student athlete, he was just a student.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got kind of going on today? Well, today I actually have a meeting in the library at 11:30. I have class at 2:30 today. And then I have a bunch of homework to do, actually. So gonna try to stay focused and get that done today. Gonna head to the stadium, work out a little bit with Desmond Rowland, help him prepare for the NFL.
What you up to? Go get it, man. You got to. We all got to. Always.
Then I guess just relax and wash my dishes. So let's just stay in life with Jeremiah for you.
So obviously I decided that I wanted to be a normal student, and it wasn't worth it to just pass out at practice. And now I'm preparing myself for the real world, and I think that in the long run, I think this was meant to happen for me. There was more to me than football. From what I experienced as a child, and from what I know now as a man, that I can help others and change the world. Football was just another way that I could do so. Football helped me get to where I am now. When I got to college, I literally, thought to myself, I'm in college. This is crazy. I'm, 18 years old, and I get a chance to, do something with my life. I get a chance to actually pursue a career. I get a chance to impact somebody's life. Because like I said, I didn't see myself living to age 17. For my family, I hope to take care of my mother in the near future, give her the life she should have received. I want to be able to watch my little sister in her track meets pretty soon. I want to be able to see my little sister in college, both my little sisters in college. I want to be able to have that family environment where we can sit down and actually be a family and have family dinners and start traditions like we used to have. And I believe I can accomplish this all. Just have to stay consistent within what I do and have my goals ready. There's so much I want to do with my life.
The road from here is anything but certain, and with 1 year of eligibility still left, Jeremiah hasn't ruled out a return to college football. But whether football is in the big picture or not, the sport has undeniably given him options, and most importantly, a future.